Good evening. I'd like to call to order the Sister Cities Commission meeting for Monday, October 4th. Roll call.
See all present with the exception of Dana O'Brien and Gary Klamick. So that should be Carolyn Marty, Larry Mack, Michelle Markgraf, Jane Mady-Helke, Dick Saboth, Brian Filzen, Jeremy Reed, Steve Balza, and ex officio Terry Sweeney, along with John Vorwerk.
All right. The approval of the minutes. Has everybody reviewed the minutes from the last meeting?
If they reflect what we discussed, I'll move the minutes.
Second.
Okay. And for our financial report, we need to look at the detailed versus the budget and the fact that we paid $440 to the Sister Cities Commission for our membership was paid out of the general fund. And then we have as a balance $13,502.26. We took in $627.21 from the broad stand and the tips that we made, and then our interest was $68.07. Are there any questions? Do we have a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve.
I'll second that.
Okay. So let's look at the Hans Juice Cultural Exchange Program.
We got a call.
Oh,
You got a motion and a second. You got a.
oh. Is there a
A vote.
vote on the second? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, passed. Now we'll move on. I looked into the rental of the cars, or getting the cars from Jensen Motors, and after a lengthy talk with Rick, he's agreed to help us with one, but not two. So if we have two cultural exchange come over, we're going to have to find another dealer to help provide us with a vehicle for that one, because he will only do one. And part of it, he said, is because right now they don't have a lot of vehicles, and they typically use what they use for a car that they use to give out as a loaner, and they don't have a lot of those on hand right now either. And not knowing what the future is going to bring, he just can't, he can do one, but he can't do two. So I sent a letter, an email to Dorothea. I have not heard back from her about what their interests were, if we could stagger them, anything like that. I have not got a response back. And I do remember from a previous email, they were going to be out of the office until the end of October, first part of November. So it could be that the email is there and she hasn't been in the office and she has not had an opportunity to look at it. So we'll have to wait on that. What are your thoughts on approaching other dealers before we know, or should we wait until after we hear from Dorothea? And who would be willing to approach the other dealers to see if they would be willing to do the same thing that Jensen has done in the past?
Well, I don't think we have to set up straw men, so finding out if we do have a second trainee coming from Germany is the time to
Yeah.
go out and make our ask. And hopefully they will be spread over to assist in coming up with host families.
Come at the same time, right?
Yeah.
Right.
But
we'll
it's
still-
true,
we'll
that's
still
still, he
bring
doesn't
the-
want to rent it out twice, or rent it
Yeah,
to
he
us
doesn't want
twice.
to do it twice. He will do it only once.
But we may not. That may be a moot point if we only have one coming, so.
Okay. Yeah. I'm going to ask Lisa to follow up with an email as well, just to reiterate and, and make sure that mine didn't go to the junk mail or whatever, because it is only like the second time I've emailed her in the last couple of years. So I just want to make sure. So I will do that. I will ask Lisa to follow up as well. Okay. And then when it comes to proper licensing, they just need their German license when they come here to the United States, and then they can drive. they don't need an international or a special license to drive here in the United States. So we don't have to worry about that as long as their license is valid.
How's insurance handled?
Boy, you know,
The owner of the vehicle has the insurance, so I'm guessing that that's something that
I
Jensen
think
has been
Jensen
picking up
covers
for
it.
us.
Yes, they do cover it. I know they do.
Okay, so
Okay, so
that's
they
really
cover-
great, but,
yeah.
and it's.
So
kind
that's
of them to
another
offer.
thing that we have to think about if we go to another dealer is, if they are willing to give us a vehicle, are they going to help cover the insurance piece of it, or do we have to look at insurance ourselves to cover it for the period of time?
Remember the one intern we had that took the car to Chicago and then the hood blew off and we had to pay for that. The insurance
Yeah.
didn't cover that.
Yeah.
Sister cities had to pay for that one that time.
Yeah.
Now, we don't let them take
Go
the
that
cars
far.
out of, we have a ban on that, but that was a problem.
Yeah.
And that was expensive and we had to pay for it.
Yeah. I mean, I think they cover the basic insurance, but when it comes to over what's the deductible, we have to step up to the plate and cover it.
So is that something in guidelines for the Sister City program that you notify them that they're not to take the vehicle out of state?
Yes.
We
Or,
We
did that
do.
after
or
we.
within so many miles of New
Yes.
Ulm? Is that what?
Mankato, I think, was the limit. when we put
Yep,
on-
35 miles
Okay.
is the distance that they can go with it. So, because I know the other one that wanted to go, I drove her when she wanted to go to Chicago, so they can only go that far. All right. Any other discussion about the program? If not, we'll move on to old business. The city manager, Chris Dalton, reported that the following after he contacted the city attorney, that the city has been advised not to cover the parade under its insurance. There was no issue with the commissioner appointing someone to a group or organization that would take it over, the operations. It was also suggested that we might need to reach out to the previous committee and see who they used for their insurance. Who did they contact and how much did it cost and what was the expense on it?
Madam Chair, it was my understanding that they've never had insurance for the German Day Parade, and I did a little research today with Firth Miley, and if we wanted to sponsor the insurance for that half-hour parade, it'd be about $350 to $400, and that's just a ballpark area. So it's very possible that maybe 2022 can go on as it has without insurance. And it's just a case of volunteering any of our our time to help them put the parade together. It's still a pretty loosely knit thing. It's just a question of whether we think the area is getting so litigious that we don't want to participate at all unless there's insurance.
I talked with Michael Loft at the Chamber, and he thought he could put it maybe under their Oktoberfest policy. And he was receptive to it.
Okay.
And I think they're with Firth Miley too, and they were going to talk about it. Because I talked to Michael right away about the liability issue, and he doesn't want to lose the parade either. And he thought, well, I wonder if we could just cover it under our Oktoberfest. So he was going to check into that.
Well, they did indicate at Firth with the Mariah that I discussed things with, that a group that presently had insurance, adding this on would be less expensive.
Exactly. So he sounded pretty favorable for the idea too, and I'd like to continue pursuing that. I think we should be involved in that somehow as well with that parade.
I think we also should be involved. I actually had a meeting with Firth Miley also with Junior Pioneers in New Ulm, who have our nonprofit insurance, and the German Bohemian Society had reached out to the Junior Pioneers, and Mr. Firth stated about $225 added on to the sister cities, in those capacities for their insurance, because they have a nonprofit liability insurance policy also. But I asked Wade, with the German Bohemian Society, and yeah, they've been kind of flying under the radar, and they think that perhaps George was taken care of it or unaware of it, of the fine details, but this started out as a walking parade, and it's evolved into several floats and the city fire trucks, to numerous other things, so. But I think it was well-attended and well-received, and maybe it's a thought that we could ask some people in the community if they'd be interested to sponsor it. You know, might not have to just fall on, out of our budget, but
Well, Michael made it sound like the chamber thought they could do it under their insurance policy.
Okay.
I mean, he was going to check on it.
okay.
So why don't you continue to follow up on that?
I will continue to harass him, yes.
Well, I think we should stay involved in it.
Yes,
Yeah. And I was wondering how much it was going to cost. Because sometimes that liability insurance can be pretty hefty. But it's very reasonable, and if we can fall under, you know,
Well,
And
it's
help.
almost cut in half if it goes as a rider on somebody's existing policy.
Yeah, it'd be like-
Where if we were to sponsor it alone, stand alone, it'd be much higher.
yeah.
I think we just continue to do some homework on it and due diligence and
Yeah,
report back.
be ready to have a decision as we go into the 2022 German American Day Parade. Yeah.
Okay. And next thing was that we have, from the city engineer, talks about how he followed up after contacting MinDOT on relating to the sister city signs. And I paid special attention coming in from 14 into New Ulm on 37. There is not, it's so far off. The sign is, you know, there's not really a New Ulm with the population. So, and that could change after all the construction's done. So it's something we probably need to think about as well. So, has everybody read what Joe had to say about the signing program, the signage, and the cost involved? So what he says is that all existing community recognition signs would need to be removed, including Tree City USA and Dare. City staff could install the signage on Highway 14 west of New Ulm and Highway 15 south of New Ulm. The new sign on Highway 1415 near the Minnesota River Bridge does not have a stringer installed for the installation of the additional sign. And again, we'd have to move it on this side of the bridge I'm taking into Brown County. I don't know.
Well, he didn't mention in his,
Yeah, I know.
Epistle,
That was
whether we
something
had to
that
move it
popped
or
into
not.
my
No,
mind.
it wouldn't move. It
We
would
want,
stay where it's at.
okay, all right, that's fine. And that was, they would install the stringer and modify the sign for a fee of $200, and that work would be coordinated with MinDOT, and they would then install the sister city signs while modifying the sign. If the commission wishes to proceed, this would need to be approved by the city council with the city engineer to take care of the paperwork to have this completed. So,
well, Madam Chair, what's encouraging is that we won't be responsible for putting up the breakaway signs that could cost as much as $1,000 to $1,500 per sign to have the right type of supports. So I would encourage us to make a presentation in 2 weeks to the city council and see what they think.
and are you willing to do that?
Yes, I would.
Since it's your suggestion and your project, I think you would be the one that we would want to present it to the city council for approval.
I offer to do so.
I'm curious, will any of the signs that we're proposing to take down, is there anybody that's going to have skin in the game and,
Yes, they will.
okay,
Park and Rec might be the people to go to first,
okay.
trees and all of that. I bet they will.
Probably fall under the tree commission then, Terry. They're probably proud of that sign.
So are you suggesting our approach is to speak with those two before we,
We got a new bicycling one. Wanted to put up on there too. don't know the answer. That time, I wish Joe was here.
I think it's a city council point is,
I'll look into that, how about that?
Well, how about we just put it on discussion item for the council, and then maybe the council can direct it back to the committees or commissions that are, have the signage.
I'll still,
all the service organizations lost their signs at the city gateway some years ago. And it was just a decision by the city that they're all gone. So,
So should we table approaching the city council until after we know, or do we just go ahead and proceed with the presentation and move forward from there?
I think go ahead with the presentation. I can find this stuff out in a day, I bet.
Okay. All right. Then once we get their approval, then we will have to look at the total cost and what's all involved in that. Okay. Is there any new business? You might have found this sitting on where you came in tonight about consistencies and between all.
Madam Chair.
And Denny Ward have put
Chair.
this together, yes?
Sorry to interrupt. Before we move on off the signs, I believe we need a
Motion.
motion and a second on
Yeah,
that.
we do. Can I have a motion?
Moved.
I'll second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Is this what I'm reading here at the
Yeah,
bottom of
yeah,
6
yeah.
is the motion?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
So then this is just, Denny Ward have put this together for our information. So you can take that and read it. Is there any other new business? If not, the next council meeting will be held November 1st at 5:15 here in the City Hall Council Chambers. Do I have a motion for adjournment?
Motion to adjourn.
I'll second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Meeting adjourned.